All right, let's dive into something that sounds like it's straight out of science fiction, but is actually grounded in some seriously fascinating math. We're going to explore a science that completely blurs the line between physics, biology, and, believe it or not, art.
So let me just start by asking you a question. Could you, personally, sing a starship into existence? I mean, just with your voice. It sounds completely impossible, right? Like something from an old legend. But what if I told you there was an entire civilization whose interstellar engineering was based on exactly that, and it was all built on a foundation of pure, rigorous mathematics?
So, where does this wild idea even come from? Well, it comes from the recovered archives of the Saurion Continuum, a lost, incredibly advanced civilization. See, they didn't weld or forge or assemble their ships piece by piece. They grew them. And their number one tool? Sound.
And look, this isn't just some poetic interpretation. This quote is from their own master historian, Grand Scribe Tyrus. When he said their ships were sung into being, he wasn't being metaphorical. To the Saurians, that was a simple, literal statement of engineering fact.
The technical term they had for it was harmonic structuring. Basically, it's a really, really slow process. It involves using incredibly precise sounds, vocalizations, to stimulate the growth of these very special Aether-Harmonics crystals. You're literally telling the crystal's matrix how to grow, shaping it over hundreds of years. So yeah, this isn't magic, not at all. It's applied physics.
Okay, so for the next little bit, let's treat this like we're in a classroom. Welcome to Lesson 1. Because just like any other advanced science, harmonic structuring all starts with a single core equation. And here it is. This is the whole key. The Saurians called it the Harmonic Mantra. This formula, this recipe, is what tells you the exact frequency you need to sing to manipulate that crystal structure, literally at an atomic level. This is the math that makes starships grow from sound.
All right, Lesson 2. A formula like that is useless unless you know what all the little symbols mean, right? You have to learn the vocabulary. Each part of this equation is a critical piece of the whole creation puzzle.
So let's break it down. First, you have K crystal. That's basically the crystal's stiffness. Think of it like how tight a guitar string is. It determines its natural vibration. Then there's M section, which is just the mass of the piece of the ship you're working on right now. But the coolest one, the real game changer, is this last one, the rate of strain, or dE over dt. This is literally the speed of creation, and it's controlled directly by the power and precision of the singer's voices.
Okay, welcome to Lesson 3. Now, just hitting the right note, that's only half the story. The Saurian engineers also had to deal with the raw, physical force of their sound waves. We are talking about an incredible amount of sonic pressure.
The second formula here is how they calculated that pressure. And what it shows is that the force goes up with things like air density and sound speed. But look at the end. It's especially tied to the amplitude, the loudness, squared. That means a little more volume creates a lot more force. Their voices weren't just a signal, they were a powerful construction tool, like a physical hammer shaping metal. And producing that kind of force was grueling.
And when you put their methods side by side with ours, the difference is just staggering. We take inert, dead materials, metals, and we bash them into shape with heat and mechanical force over a few years. They cultivated a living crystal with controlled sound over centuries. It's a biological, generational way of thinking about engineering that's just totally alien to us.
So we have the math, we have the physics, but what did it actually take to apply all of this? This is where the pure science becomes this incredible story of human, well, Saurian dedication.
For one of their larger ships, the whole process could take over 500 years. Just think about that for a second. This wasn't a project one person could finish. It wasn't even something one generation could finish. It was a sacred task, passed down from parents to children to grandchildren.
And the process itself was just incredibly methodical. It would start with a chorus of these specialized engineers who would gather and sing a single low-frequency drone for 50 years just to get the crystal to start growing. Then came nearly 4 centuries of carefully changing that frequency, following the harmonic mantra to the absolute letter to shape the ship's hull. And finally, in the last few decades, they'd use bursts of super high-pitched sound to lock the final molecular structure into place.
The people who did this, they called them the Chorus of Genesis. And their singing, well, it wasn't music like you and I think of it. It was this grueling, often subsonic droning that was physically dangerous. They had to wear specialized gear just to protect their own internal organs from being damaged by the sheer acoustic pressure they were creating. For them, this was the ultimate blend of science and sacred duty.
So, after all the math, after the centuries of effort, and the generations of work, what does it all add up to? What's the final equation here? I think this quote really says it all. For the Saurians, the sound of creation wasn't just an engineering problem to be solved. It was a biological and spiritual test of the highest order, something that pushed them to the very limits of what their bodies could endure.
And that's really the heart of it all. For the Saurians, there was no clean line separating science, life, and their beliefs. The very same mathematics they used to grow a starship was also the force that shaped their entire culture, their entire philosophy of existence.
Which, leaves us with one last thought. The Saurians proved that if you find the right formulas, sound can literally create wonders. So it kind of makes you wonder, doesn't it? If music is just a form of math that we can hear, what else is out there just lying dormant in the laws of physics, waiting for us to find the right equation to bring it to life?